Welcome to the Times of Industry show. I have a phenomenal guest, which I haven't had on the show for a while, Chris Duane. I'm sorry about my voice, little sore throat. Chris Duane runs Golden State Mint, where you can get his exclusive. You mint them, right, Chris? You mint those.
No, I'm partnered with the Golden State Mint. I do not own them, but they have
but
been.
you mint
They
your
have been.
own coins, don't you?
Yes, Silver
Yes.
Shield. It's been around since 2012. We've done over 500 designs, and
Amazing.
it's about having art and art as a way of fighting back all this. So I've had 500 designs that have railed against the debt and death paradigm, and
Yeah.
I think they're very timely and historical pieces.
Okay. Is there one website where everyone can see all 500, like all of your designs?
Yeah, it's Silver Shield guide.com is probably the best place to start. That's again another site that I don't own, but I've have a lot of very important followers who have categorized all the stuff that I've done. I'm the creative one, but I'm not the one that goes back and puts it all into pictures. So silvershieldguide.com.
Okay. And then you're on
Thank you.
Greatest Truths Never Told.
Yes, the greatest truth never told.
You, right? So you're, that's interesting. We've had a lot of friends and colleagues that are now off of YouTube and they're on BitChute or wherever else because of what's going on with the Section 230 and everything like that. But first of all, Silver's having a great year, actually. So just to get your perspective on what's going on right now, because there obviously the YouTube algorithm is crazy about stimulus. So you see stimulus channels popping up everywhere, like updating on stimulus, etc. Stimulus was not supposed to happen in December. Then Mitch McConnell changed his mind, basically. I'm simplifying this. And now we have probably a stimulus bill coming, $908 billion, bipartisan, and maybe something above that. I want to ask you, I've talked with my wife about this subject, and I told her about the 1,200 checks, and she said, "Look, people are gonna become accustomed to this. This is basically an indirect way of getting people on this universal basic income." Do you think that this is the next stage? Do you think people are going to get hooked on government direct checks?
No, well, no. I think this is the power elite trying to stave off the inevitable societal revolution that is coming. I've seen videos in Argentina and Europe where people are literally rioting and burning. There's a video of burning down the central bank in France. Humanity is suffering under this global generational debt-based fiat Ponzi scheme. And I think the global power elite are using money and creating debt out of thin air and trying to kick the can down the road. But at some point, truth and silver are the only thing that's going to matter. They can print all this money, and at some point there won't be enough. It's a horrible thing to do to humanity, to keep them from being productive, from allowing the consequences of all this debt and death that we've allowed to run rampant throughout the world. And at some point, it's going to end, and it's going to be the single largest event in human history. And my whole channel has all been about that point. I don't care about how many stimulus packages and bailouts and all this other stuff. At some point, it's going to matter, and it's going to be the largest transference of wealth from all these intangible debt-based fiat digital crypto Ponzi schemes into what you have in your hands. And it's going to matter about your friends, your family, the skills. And I think silver is going to be the greatest beneficiary of it, because it was it is the original sin, the crime of 1873, when they demonetized silver after the Civil War. It gave rise to this banking class, the gold men out there that have raped and looted the world with debt, death, and deception. Gave rise to the Federal Reserve in 1913, which gave rise to all these global wars and debts that have accrued out of it. And we haven't paid it off because it never will. We have debt-based money, and they have to continue to print money. So whatever schemes they come up with, they're talking about getting rid of, the college student debts and all that other stuff. It's all just kicking the can down the road. But at some point, it's going to matter that there'll be so much money chasing after so few goods that hyperinflation is going to kick in, and it's going to be game over for everybody. And politicians and billionaires and all these guys who act like they own the world, they're going to be running for their lives. It happens all the time in history. I don't know why we think this isn't going to happen this time.
Well, actually, you're not alone. Ray Dalio has just put up an incredible piece on LinkedIn. I don't know if you got a chance to read it yet, but it was basically about, look, the system, like you're saying, you know, at some point there's a restructuring. Like he says the same thing. I actually think it already matters. Like you're saying, one day will matter. I think it matters right now. I mean, it has consequences. It doesn't have the particular consequence of sending silver to the moon yet, but this debt creation has a lot of consequences on daily lives. And you see the wealth gap and the income gap and the division of ideologies becoming so problematic that, you know, you're in the States. Can you explain your point of view in your city and your, you know, in your area and how you see it in terms of, is there a way to bridge some of these divisions? They seem like, you know, okay, you answered it, but I want to ask you, it seems like there's no compromising points anymore. They're not trying to find where they do compromise, because the big picture is they can't. You know, what's your...
They can't. This is, so what's happening in the United States is we have Catholic Democrat governors that are imposing this ridiculous COVID lockdown that has destroyed all the local businesses. You know, we have guys literally running. I saw a video of a bar owner who was serving a burger and beer, run from unmasked sheriff's department that came to arrest him at nighttime, and him running in his car to get away from this. Like,
which state is this?
New York. It was on Staten Island. And, you know, in California, you have all these people, you know, going against Gavin Newsom. And, you know, there's a distinct, I mean, I know that the fact that Trump's election has been stolen, and that there has to be some recourse to this. So all this is doing is they're trying to kick the can down the road, and who's going to have their hand on the wheel when it goes down. You know, I've said, you know, a long time before, I said Trump was a very compromised candidate. To begin with, he got bailed out by the Rothschild agent, Wilbur Ross, who worked directly with the Rothschilds. The Rothschilds own, you know, most of the central banks in the world. And Wilbur Ross is the king of bankruptcy. Donald Trump's top CEOs were killed in a helicopter crash, which led to his bankruptcy, which led to the bailout with the Rothschilds and Wilbur Ross. And then Wilbur Ross is the commerce secretary.
So I hope YouTube lets us air this.
Yeah, but you know what? At some point, truth has got to matter. Like, anybody who would delete truth on YouTube is literally enabling the worst in humanity, that they want to enslave us. Like, why would you even work at a place that would stop truth like this? Like, I'm not lying. I'm not doing anything bad. I'm telling the absolute truth of the enormity of the problems that we have. And it's not just the, you know, the Rothschilds. We have the Chinese. We have the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church was caught getting bribes from China, like to the tune of billions of dollars a year. Like, what does the Catholics have over the Chinese that the Chinese have to pay the Catholic Church billions of dollars a year? These are all power grabs from all these power people, and all they're doing is grabbing for digital illusions of wealth. Like, nobody's going to benefit from this. Nobody's going to benefit. So we're going to have a societal collapse. And I think at the end of the day, for the individuals, at the end of the day, all that's going to matter is that if you have gold and silver, I think silver is going to outperform gold magnitudes. And that's going to lead to the largest transference of wealth, because all these, think about the markets, the stock market at 30,000, when we've had, you know, the debt soar. I look at Manhattan, it's completely shut down. You know, all the businesses are there. You can't tell me that the global economy is growing. All that it's growing is this debt that we cannot pay back. And at some point, it's going to matter, and it's going to, in your bank accounts, your dollars, your stock portfolio, your cryptos, all that stuff won't matter. It's going to be what you have in your hand, and I think silver's going to be the greatest beneficiary of it.
Chris, have you participated in some of the rallies Donald Trump had in your area, or no? Okay.
No, I don't believe in any collective behavior, any collectivist behavior. If somebody says that they're going to come save you, they're just another guy who's looking to get power from you. we are the source of power. And I think until humanity realizes that we are the source of power, these billionaires are nothing without us. If we didn't work for them, if we didn't buy from them, if we didn't, fawn over everything that they say and start saying, hey, I reject your values. I don't want, Amazon to make $6 billion of profits and not pay any taxes on it. I don't want to, vote in these puppet elections where, it's puppet A versus puppet B. We are the source of power. So I'm for decentralized, individual conscious solutions. And I've only been a proponent of having physical silver as a means of withdrawing our wealth outside the system. I believe it's an attack against the Ponzi schemes that they've been using to control the paper price of silver at the LBMA and the Crimex. And that if enough investors pulled their silver out of the markets, that the entire banking system would be shown as a complete fraud. Like, we know that when we put money in our bank, there's no physical dollar bills sitting there waiting for us. It's just digits, folks. So as soon as we stop playing the digital game and start getting into the physical game and withdrawing all the wealth out of that, the game's going to continue to go on. But as soon as we pull that last ounce out of there and there's really nothing left to play for, it's game over.
Yeah. So I own silver, I own gold physical, and silver physical. The reason I asked you about Trump rallies is I just wanted to gauge if people that are, that you speak with, do they understand what's going on right now? The people that are suffering, because suffering makes people research more. There's like, why is this happening to me? Is a lockdown constitutional? Is it? So I like the part where the struggles actually bring stuff to the surface. It's like this election. Now you're learning all these things of how a chain of custody should work in a ballot, and you're learning because you're suffering. You're not in your comfort zone. You're actually in some sort of a frustration, and you want to know where is the truth, like you said. So
yes, that is occurring. And I think one of the statistics your audience probably needs to understand is, prior to COVID, I think it was like 63% of Americans could not come up with $400 in case of emergency. Like, to me, that's a very sad tale about how far our country has gone. I just saw now, post-COVID, it's 83% of Americans could not come up with $400 in case of emergency. Like, this is a game that nobody is benefiting from. And I know that unfortunately, our education system and our media is so corrupt that people feel it, but they don't understand it. And I've been on my YouTube channel for 10 years, and I made 3,000 videos, and I did the Sons of Liberty Academy.com, which is a 46-hour, 1,776 PowerPoint presentation, all describing this stuff 10 years ago. And the level of ignorance out there is stunning. And I feel bad for everybody, because they're enabling their own enslavement through their own ignorance. And unfortunately, it's only through hard times will people become educated and actually start questioning what they've been doing. They'll get off Netflix, they'll get off of YouTube, and they'll start actually like reading books and start, acting out. So I will say that, at least from the American perspective, there are a lot of people that are coming out and stepping up to taking responsibility for understanding certain things. I think a lot of it is focused on China, and I don't think China necessarily is the problem. I think it's all within, like, the corruption and the collectivism and the encroachment of civil liberties, taxation, the letting the lies go on the media, and all, and the power structure that's enabled. To me, I think in the United States has got so many problems internally to focus any energy on, which communist China, trust me, I wouldn't want to ever live there. But it's all the problems that we have, we can fix within ourselves if we become more educated and responsible for our own lives. And which is why I think people should, truth and silver are the only two things that I think are going to be left standing when change does happen.
Okay, so now we have an actual, the Davos meeting. It's going to be held in Singapore, but they even call it reset. They talk about the need for a reset. Ray Dalio is calling, who's attends Davos, is calling for a restructuring. He's saying that if we don't learn to compromise, don't learn to talk with each other, don't learn to find, like you said, the truth, the source of our problems, then we will grow apart. And, those people that, like you said, the billionaires that choose to enjoy the system, or you don't have to be a billionaire, the people that benefit from the system, if they just willfully go on pretending like this enjoyment is going to last forever, they're going to have a problem, like you said. Off the air, you told me we need a reset, and it's very interesting because you're going to suffer either way. So if in March the central banks would have done nothing and not intervened, and you would have let the free markets,
We had a deflationary depression, and it would have been horrible.
Yeah, exactly.
So now we're going to get a hyperinflationary depression. It's going to be horrible.
Exactly. So there's a suffering coming, no matter how this goes. This goes either into a restructuring that's violent in terms of like hyperinflation, etc., or violent in terms of deflationary spiral, or there's a talk and there's a restructuring.
You can't restructure this.
Exactly.
There's the debts are too enormous, and the real problem is nobody's gone to jail. Nobody's felt consequences. The 2008 financial crisis, it's the exact same Ponzi schemes. It's the same thing that happened in the housing markets, happened in the student loan markets, happened with the national debt, and all these $1 trillion wars in Afghanistan. Like ridiculous amount of wealth that has been garnered to the insiders that just want more money. Like they have enough, and humanity is suffering underneath it because we are enabling this system. So there can be no restructuring of this. I postulated the only logical and I think nice way of handling this is to have a holy debt jubilee, all debts canceled, all things. Nobody has to lose anything. Just erase all the books everywhere and get back to real tangible money. Revalue, and the market will revalue gold and silver higher regardless of what happens. Even in a deflationary crash, silver would gain in value relative to all the other assets out there. Tesla being worth, the Tesla stock is ridiculous. Like I have a Tesla, I love Tesla, but the stock is ridiculous. But you revalue things back to, to a more sustainable level. Like we need to get back to a small, at least in the United States, small town America, where little towns provided the healthcare and provided the education, provided this without federal intervention, without state dictates, without mandates from on far that have no clue about what's going on in the local level or what works. And I think I get back to it. Silver is going to be the only thing, because that's what humanity has used throughout all time in history. During the decline of the Roman Empire, when the Roman Empire was most beneficial to the most amount of citizens, we had its silver money. And then as soon as they started to take the silver out of the coinage, it destroys it, because then it enables the cunning manipulators to say, haha, I have the same value, but you get less. I have the same value, you get less. And that's all they're doing with all this monetary stimulus and printing. The insiders go, haha, we're giving you some, but you're really getting 10 cents on the dollar, while they're getting the first kick of the dollars that go through the profits, the influence, the bribery, all this other stuff. It's a systemic corruption that is eating the healthy host, and it will kill off everything. And then what will happen is 90% of the economy will get destroyed. The 10% that is real, the commodities, the gold and silver and stuff, that's where something will be created up again. But the idea that we're going to have some global reset where the global power brokers are going to have COVID vaccine, crypto, biohacking, enslavement, universal basic, this sci-fi bullshit, it's never going to work. We're at the end of this story. They can't kick it up to the next notch when we're already feeling the effects of what they've been doing for the last 100 years.
Well, I have to ask you something. So Eric Sprott, a few years ago, he said, I'm 90% in gold or in silver or 90% in precious metals. I walk the talk. And you're very bullish on silver. how do you live your life? Can how do you save?
Well, I sell silver, so that makes it easier.
So
Yeah, but I mean,
married to silver, obviously, right? With your businesses, with everything else. Does it mean that you own nothing? You own no stocks, no bonds, no real estate, nothing. You place everything onto silver.
yep. Yeah, I've sold my house twice for silver. I sold my house the first time in 2005 during the housing bubble in New Jersey. My house went from 200,000 to $450,000. So I was able to take a $250,000 tax-free profit off of my house. I dumped it all in silver at $7.25 back then. And then, since 2012, I created the Silver Bullet, Silver Shield, which then turned into just Silver Shield because we don't need silver bullets where we're going. And I've created over 500 designs and sold over 2 million Silver Shield ounces throughout the world. And just this past May, I sold my house again at another housing bubble because everybody's fleeing the cities. That's another thing that your audience probably doesn't realize. All the major metropolitan cities in the United States are being there's an exodus of massive proportions. I
Yeah.
think New York City alone has lost over 500,000 people out of Manhattan.
Wow. Yeah.
500,000. And can you imagine what that's going to do? And we're not feeling the consequences of that. Like Broadway is gone. Like that was a $4 billion a year industry, decimated, gone. And you got this Governor Cuomo and de Blasio that have done more damage to Manhattan than Osama bin Laden could ever dream of. And yet they're still, on the air. People are saying, oh, they're great. They have devastated with these awful, ridiculous COVID things. So we're having a decimation of people leaving the cities. People are leaving their jobs. California is having an exodus. And I believe what's going to end up happening to the United States is you're going to have a blue state, red state divide. And the blue state cities in particular, New York, Chicago, Florida, Miami, California, all these cities that have a lot of Democratic, Catholic mayors and stuff that are putting all these dictates down, have devastated on top of all the taxes and regulations. And these people are going, I'm out. I'm done. I don't want to live like this anymore. They're leaving to Texas, North Carolina, Virginia, Pennsylvania. They're just getting out and they're leaving forever. So that wealth and these are the smart people with money. They are leaving those areas for good. So I think what's going to end up happening is 2021, you're going to start feeling the real economic impact where they'll no longer be able to hide that anymore, which is why I think they were trying to steal this election from Trump. Because if Biden gets in, he's going to use federal money to bail out all these blue state caliphate cities, Manhattan and LA, and use federal funds to keep and propped up these cities that are obsolete operating systems. Like these are cities that will never come back. With the rise of the internet, with all this other stuff, we don't need these expensive megalopolis, big city retailers. The malls are useless. I mean, think about the real estate ramifications of this. We haven't felt the impact of this yet. So I think once the election is decided, and I do believe that Trump's going to end up somehow pulling a rabbit out of its hat.
Wow, that's a big prediction.
Yeah, I do, because I think with the theft of the election and the ramifications, because Biden is a completely corrupt guy. I mean, the Hunter Biden laptop thing got totally covered up here by the mass media. But the whole Biden family is completely bought and paid for. I just posted a video on my Instagram, The Greatest Truth Never Told, of Chinese professor laughing that they own Biden. And this is something I think the people in America are not going to end up standing for, and somehow it's going to end up happening, or we're going to have a lot of trouble going forward. Either way, it bodes very well for physical silver in 2021.
Well, I want to ask you, just in closing, if you can tell people again where they can go if they want to check out your designs and purchase silver, physical silver. And then how do people follow you? Do they check out your videos and content and everything else?
Yeah, I'm probably one of the most suppressed. I'm very fortunate. I even have a YouTube channel. Again, I got a second strike a couple weeks ago, speaking out against all the same stuff. So, be careful with this thing. But maybe I don't know.
Don't use your name in the title.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah. So The Greatest Truth Never Told. I do have 2 videos up there right now, but I have 177,000 subscribers. I'm not some, off the wall kind of guy. I have a very good following and reputation. I have been at this for a long time. I was in the Marine Corps. I've been, I've been covering this probably more honestly than anybody else I know. I'm the only guy that I know that has been 100% physical silver this entire time, because I know at the end of the day, everything else is going to fall to it. If you look at Exeter's pyramid, all these digital illusions of wealth, these trillions of dollars and even gold are going to pale in comparison to the rise of silver, which is the most manipulated metal. So you can follow me on The Greatest Truth Never Told on YouTube. I also have an Instagram account, The Greatest Truth Never Told. And then you can purchase my coins over at goldenstatemint.com. You can find it under the collection section. It says Silver Shield. And then if you're just interested in my coins and what I've done, you can go to silvershieldguide.com. It's actually this big book here. It's 300 pages. I mean, I've done a lot of work, and I think at the end of the day, like the work that I've done with Silver Shield, it's old school. It is offline. It is truth that can never be hidden from humanity. I'm very proud of the fact that I've pushed out 2 million ounces of Silver Shield, and I have the most controversial designs you've ever seen. But it's all truth. It's all out there, and it'll never be deleted. Thousands of years from now, somebody's going to go, "Who is this guy that did that?"
They'll find it in Israel.
To me, yeah, absolutely, all over the world. In fact, one of the coins that I did was called Slave Queen, or Nazi Bride, and it talked about how the Queen of England has Nazi connections. And I had a collector in Germany arrested for selling that coin.
Wow.
And I actually wrote testimony to them, giving the historical fact.
Yeah. I've seen that video. I've seen that video.
Had Nazi ties.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that Silver Shield and these coins out there are going to be around for thousands of years from now, and stand in stark contrast to the governments that have used coinage. That's how emperors and queens and governments have cast their images out there. And this is a completely unique way. And I'm the only one in history who have ever done this. And I think at the time, given that this is also the nexus of a global generational debt-based fiat Ponzi scheme, and that the silver is going to be the greatest beneficiary of it, the combination of truth and silver in Silver Shield is going to be historically significant. And I watch how, all these other brands out there. I just saw a t-shirt company in the United States called Supreme that does skateboard t-shirts.
Yeah.
There's a collection going on Christie's for 256 Supreme t-shirts that they're estimating that they're going to get $2 million for. T-shirts, right? And I got this collection that nobody knows about. I mean, I have a few hundred avid stackers that are into this. And I think Silver Shield at some point is going to be the most valuable collection of all time, because once this global generational debt-based fiat Ponzi scheme collapses, and all these stocks and all these, the popes and presidents and all these other guys go, "Oh, we didn't see this coming," and Silver Shield was here a decade stamping it 2 million ounces, I think that's going to be worth a lot more than Supreme t-shirts.
Well, I'm definitely going to go check it out right now. And what else is left to say? You've got a lot of passion regarding silver. I hope you're half right, because you said $900 silver even at 400.
Oh, I think it's going to be way more than that. Think about what happened in Venezuela in 2010. An ounce of silver was 90 bolivars for an ounce.
Okay.
It's now 8.3 million bolivars an ounce.
8.3 million bolivars.
That's the difference, because they can print unlimited amount of money. And what we haven't had this awakening where people go, "Oh, they can print all this money. That destroys the value of all of our money. So we have to actually go out and buy real things to defend our purchasing power."
Now, what does one silver buy there, Chris? What do you know what does 8.3 billion bolivar?
Well, I mean, just think about it from an average American perspective. If you owned 1 ounce of silver in Venezuela, and your mortgage was $250,000. Now, if you waited 10 years and you didn't sell it, you would have at the very least paid off your mortgage. But what it ended up doing was it ends up saving people's purchasing power so they didn't starve to death. That's to me the most important thing, because in Venezuela they showed that the cost of chicken and eggs and all this stuff goes up in value. And if you have your money saved in, even the Venezuelan stock market was one of the best performing stock markets of all time, right?
Yes.
But it doesn't mean anything if you can't buy chicken. So when you start to realize that money is just a future promise on wealth and not real wealth itself, that's when it starts clicking. And then once you start realizing that real wealth is the things that you use and touch and feel, very few things can do what gold and silver does, and silver is going to outperform gold at least 10 times.
Okay.
Because the gold to silver ratio has got to collapse. There's more gold above ground than there is silver. There's 6 billion ounces of gold in an investable form above ground, and there's an estimated 1 to 2 billion ounces of silver. Gold's at 18.50 an ounce, and silver's at $24.
Yes.
If you can justify $1,800 gold with 6 billion ounces just sitting around doing nothing, and silver is the second most versatile commodity in the world next to oil with 10,000 industrial uses, and the solar revolution that's going to come from this, regardless, all this electrification, the technological uses, it's got antimicrobial, antibacterial, anti-cancer treatment. It is the most reflective, most conductive metal. This is a holy metal, and it's going to be the nexus point of all this stuff. Like, I spent 10 years talking about silver. I'll keep talking about it because I know at the end of the day, with the largest transference of wealth, silver's going to be the beneficiary of it. And
Well,
here
Chris,
I was, the one guy, truth and silver the whole time, and nobody pays attention to me until the very end.
Well, if somebody sat through this interview and is still not convinced about silver, then I don't think anything will ever convince them. That's all I can say. So
I don't know. I'm just waiting for some big money guy out there to say, that's it. I'm flushing the toilet on everything. I'm bringing this all down, because that's the only way out.
I'm buying all the futures. Yeah.
No futures. Physical only. No ETFs. No nothing. Physical only. That's the only way to win this game.
Just to get an idea here, 2 billion above. Let's say it's 2 billion above ground. 2 billion times 25. That's a very small market.
It is. And there's far less than that. I think there's 130 million ounces sitting on the COMEX, supposedly. Now, I don't know how many owners that they have of that, but I'm telling you, at some point, somebody's going to pull that last ounce out, and Tesla and Nokia and Samsung and Apple and all these companies that use physical silver in their commodities are going to go, oh shit, we need this for our value-added products. We have a close to $1 trillion market cap, and if we can't sell the next Apple computer because there's not enough physical silver around, or China or in the United States and all these other countries go, oh shit, we need silver.
Yeah.
It's a guaranteed mathematical inevitability. You have unlimited money and you have a very little amount of physical silver above ground, and it's the most valuable metal out there. It's astounding to me that I'm at the end of 2020 and it still hasn't happened yet. But until then, I get to stack all the silver that I want. I mean, I'm so fortunate that I've been able to spend a decade stacking silver, because I have more silver than kings of England had. England only had, think about this. England had no silver relative to their thing, and they had to use tally sticks for 800 years. Yeah. I own more silver than some of the kings of England. Do you know Rome? Rome had barbarians at the gate, and they wanted a ton of gold and a ton of silver. And Rome couldn't come up with a ton of silver. Do you know how much a ton of silver costs?
How much?
Like $500,000. Like, why are people buying silver? They're chasing after Bitcoin and all these crappy digital illusions of wealth when silver's a place to be.
Yeah.
And Silver Shield's going to be the best one of them all. Chris, that's going to be like the Lexus, I don't know, Hermes version of whoever owns silver. You're going to want Silver Shield.
You have the enthusiasm for it, and we'll definitely get this interview posted immediately.
Isn't it nice to have a little hope in all this darkness?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So once again, I really appreciate you doing this and coming on our show. I love to get your perspective on silver. And what else can I say? All the links down below. And thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. There's not a lot of people. I really wish I was able to reach a broader audience, but your audience is very fortunate. For those that are able to hear this, they're, and take action. They're going to be very, very grateful. But hopefully, more people get to hear my word, because I think I'm the only one that can offer a clear way out for humanity, at least the individuals who see this coming and know that the logical conclusion of all this is very bad news for a lot of people.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, take care.